Hello and welcome. Between 1953 and 1973, the CIA spent modern equivalent of nearly 100 million of your tax dollars on one terrifying question. Can you imagine what the question was? Okay, let me tell you, the question was, can we delete a human mind and rewrite it like a computer, like a floppy disk? This wasn't a science fiction project. This was a project named MKUltra. 149 sub-projects, over 80 universities, hospitals, and prisons, and illegal experiments on unwitting Americans at every social level. Now you can imagine the scope of that project that was ran by CIA. They drugged everyday citizens, common people. They shattered personalities and tried to build Manchurian candidates. Yes, that was the reality of MK Ultra project. Let's dive in. The most scariest part of this whole project was that most Americans still do not know this actually happened with their own money, because the CIA tried to bury this project forever. So today in 2026, as brain tech and psychological ops explode, the shadow of MK Ultra is longer than ever. This is the declassified horror story they hoped would stay hidden. Stay locked in. Picture 1953. Korean War was over. American POWs on camera praising communism. The CIA freaks out. The Soviets and Chinese used brainwashing techniques. That's what CIA believed. Here I want to talk about one person. His name was Sidney Gottlieb. He was formerly known as Black Sorcerer or Prisoner in Chief. He wasn't some rogue scientist, but he was handpicked by Director Alan Dulles. His orders were crack any mind open, create programmable people who kill and forget. The interesting fact, Gottlieb even bought the entire US supply of LSD for $240,000 of taxpayers' money, worth over $4 million today. He tested it on his own agents, on civilians, on anyone. And here is what most Americans do not realize. The entire nightmare was funded by your tax money. I know what you are thinking. So your tax money was funneled through fake foundations and universities with almost zero congressional oversight. Interesting, isn't it? Yes. That was black budget money. No receipts, no accountability. Zero accountability. Let's talk about the methodology of absolute horror. MK Ultra was a beast. Yes, 149 sub-projects across 80 institutions, including Harvard, Cornell, Stanford, and McGill. You must be surprised. What they did, they used LSD and paralytics on unwitting subjects, including CIA officers. One agent got dosed in his morning coffee. He ran screaming through Washington, D.C., convinced monsters were in every car. Sensory deprivation chambers, weeks in total darkness, until hallucination took over. Electroconclusive therapy at 30 to 40 times normal power to literally shatter the ego and mind. The goal was depatterning, break the mind to a blank slate, then again rebuild it. They perfected the breaking and they mastered that art of breaking the mind, but they never understood how to rebuild it. That was the irony. Sub-project 68 at Montreal's Allen Memorial Institute under Dr. Ewen Cameron was the worst among this. Patients seeking help for mild issues were drugged into comas for weeks, shocked repeatedly, and subjected to psychic driving. Looped messages blasting 16 to 20 hours a day for months. Some forgot their own names. That is horrible. Some could not even recognize their children. But this wasn't just in Canada. American institution did the same on US soil with US citizens, and all those universities were very famous universities. 149 sub-projects, 80 institutions, zero consent, and your tax money. Let's talk about the hidden human cost and how it destroyed ordinary Americans. Here's what hits hardest. This wasn't just tested on prisoners or enemies. The CIA targeted ordinary Americans, people like you and me, without their knowledge and consent. The deputy director himself admitted openly in Senate hearings they tested on unwitting citizens at all social levels, high and low. In Operation Midnight Climax, the CIA ran actual brothels in San Francisco and New York. They hired sex workers to lure everyday men, businessmen, husbands, fathers back to safe houses, spiked their drinks with LSD, and watched behind one-way mirrors while agents took notes over martinis. 3 agents ran these operations. Your tax dollars paid for the booze, the prostitutes, and the drugs. Mental patients, college students, even terminal cancer patients were dosed for days on end. One Kentucky patient received LSD continuously for 174 days. That's horrendous. Prison experiments were brutal too. Whitney Bulger, while in Atlanta prison, explained very openly that 8 convicts hallucinating blood on the walls, room changing shapes, feeling like they were going insane. CIA employees were not spared either. Families were sometimes affected indirectly. Long term harm, psychosis, amnesia, suicide, destroyed marriages. Children growing up with parents who were never the same. That's the irony. At least one confirmed death. Frank Olson, a government scientist who questioned the program. Gottlieb spiked his drink with LSD. 9 days later, Olson fell from a 13th-floor New York hotel window. His family fought for decades to learn the truth. Most Americans have no idea this happened because it was never taught in the schools. It wasn't front page news for long. The CIA made sure the full story stayed buried. These were your neighbors, funded by your taxes, and government treated them like lab rats. Let's talk about the victims and the cover up. The scandals kept coming. Midnight Climax, the Olson case. In 1973, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered every MKUltra file to be destroyed. We only know what we know because of a clerical error. 20,000 pages of financial records misfiled in the wrong building. Without that mistake, this entire taxpayer-funded nightmare might have vanished forever. Even Sidney Gottlieb later admitted in the closed-door testimony that the whole program was probably not a high payoff, despite the millions spent and thousands of lives ruined. Why does this matter right now? The 1963 Kobach interrogation manual was written straight from MKUltra data. Those techniques showed up in Vietnam, Latin America, and the enhanced interrogation debates of the 2000s. So today, neural interfaces, mass psychops, and AI-influenced campaigns carry the same DNA. The lines between protector and predator is still razor thin, and it was drawn with your tax dollar on the minds of ordinary Americans. MKUltra proves that when governments fear losing control, they will wage war on the human mind itself, using your money and your neighbor as the battlefield. This isn't ancient history. It was a warning for 2026 and beyond. If you want the unfiltered truth about power, hidden history, geopolitics, and what they are still not telling us, hit subscribe button. Turn on notification and join over a million deep thinker in the In Focus community. Drop your biggest question about MK Ultra or how this still affects us today in the comments. I'm Dr. Adeel, and you are watching In Focus with Dr. Adeel. Thank you very much.